Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another collaboration of the Into Sports podcast and the Hard Count podcast.
Hello, everyone.
Today, we're going to be talking NFL 2020. Are these teams contenders or pretenders? We're going to take the teams that are on the bubble, and we're going to tell you if they're going to make a legitimate shot at the crown or if they're kind of fake news.
Yep.
So let's start it off with the Dallas Cowboys. Spencer, are they a contender or a pretender?
You know, I have them as a contender. I think it's debatable, but I'm going to go with contenders because I think they have a high ceiling on offense. They got CeeDee Lamb in the draft, which a lot of people think was maybe the steal of the draft. He's a very talented receiver. They did lose Byron Jones. They lost some other pieces. They replaced Byron Jones, with Trevon Diggs. They were able to acquire Gerald McCoy. I just think that new head coach, I know that's not always a good thing for you, but I think it might just be a reset, might be the kick in the butt that the Cowboys need this year to succeed. And I think the Cowboys overall, they lost pieces, but they were able to gain new pieces, and I think they'll be able to have some success coming up next season.
I'm actually going to go pretender because I don't like the fact that they have a new head coach in an offseason where there's going to be no offseason program or, a virtual program. And speaking of the virtual program, their quarterback, Dak Prescott, is not going to be attending that. Contract demands he's going to hold out of the virtual workouts. And they lost starting corner and star Byron Jones, sack leader Robert Quinn, elite center Travis Frederick, Randall Cobb, a starting safety, a starting guard, a starting defensive tackle. That's 7 starters. And I know they filled some needs in the draft, but the 4th-round center they took out of Wisconsin is not as good as Travis Frederick. The corner Trevon Diggs in the 2nd round, year 1, not as good as Byron Jones. I think the Cowboys are a pretender.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there. I just think I'm just looking at the new coach in a different way than you are. But now we're moving on to the next team, Packers. What do you think, Evan?
Well, I'm going pretender here again. They were outgained last season. They were really a 9-7 team disguised as a 13-3 team. They still can't stop the run. Didn't address that in the draft either. The 49ers ran for 285 yards and 4 touchdowns in the NFC Championship game on the Packers. And there's some potential friction in the organization dealing with Rodgers' future. He's a sensitive guy. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
I'm not buying the Packers as a threat to the crown.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with pretender here. I just don't think the draft had a big impact. We all know Jordan Love not going to play this year. A.J. Dillon is going to probably be a 3rd-string running back. And DeGuara, we'll see, blocking tight end. I don't know how that's going to play out. I think that Aaron Rodgers is very talented. There are a lot of good NFC teams. They're in a good division with the Vikings, Bears, Lions. And as you mentioned, they didn't address their biggest issue, which was stopping the run, which got them obliterated in the playoffs last year, completely exposed. And so I expect them to be a maybe bottom playoff team upcoming this season. So,
what about the Philadelphia Eagles? Carson Wentz, are they a contender or a pretender?
I'm going to go with a contender here. I think it's going to be an interesting race between the Cowboys and the Eagles to see who wins the NFC East crown. Wentz was able to show how elite he was last season, producing with poor weapons, able to get them into the playoffs last season. They drafted an interesting draft, and I know some people didn't love it. I really did. I think the Jalen Reagor pick is a great fit in Philly. His speed, he can learn from Deshaun Jackson. It adds some depth in that receiver room. We'll see some growth in Miles Sanders. I think they made some great moves, free agency. Hargrave, Fletcher Cox. I think it'll be a nasty interior line duo. And Darius Slay is the number 1 corner that they were missing last season. So I think that they addressed a lot of the needs that they had last season, and they got some guys back that they were really missing last season as well. So I have contender.
Yeah, you mentioned it. 2 big weaknesses last year, cornerback and receiver. They addressed those with Darius Slay at corner and Jalen Reagor, however you say it, and Marquise Goodwin, a speed guy. And Wentz is an elite quarterback. I like Doug Peterson a lot as an offensive mind. And in a coach-quarterback league, they have the quarterback in Wentz, and they have the coach in Doug Peterson.
Yep.
I like the Philadelphia Eagles a lot, and I think they're a real threat
Me too.
to win
Especially if they can
the
get rolling.
Super Bowl trophy.
All right, so now next we have the Seahawks. Evan, what do you think? Contender, pretender?
Reminds me a lot of the Green Bay Packers. I'm going pretender because they were outgained last year. They only had a plus 7-point differential all season. Another team that really should have been 9-7, even though they're 12-4. They lost 2 starters on an already mediocre offensive line. Doesn't look like they're going to have Jadeveon Clowney back, who's a disruptor. And they have maybe the best player in the league in Russell Wilson, but they don't have enough surrounding him. Only the 19th best scoring defense last year. I'm not buying the Seahawks stock as a contender.
Interesting. So I can understand where you're coming from there. I know that the roster around him is questionable around Russell Wilson, but I'm going to go with the fact that Russell Wilson is the best player in the NFL. That's why I have the Seahawks as contenders. I think he's the best quarterback. And when you have the best quarterback in the NFL, it is a very huge thing, and you will set yourself up for success. I think this team is very dangerous because of Russell Wilson. They have Tyler Lockett and then DK Metcalf this year. I expect progression. I know the issue with the offensive line, but we'll have to see how that works out. Jordan Brooks, I don't know. He could be interesting on the defense, but I think just because Russell Wilson is the best quarterback in the league, I have them as contenders.
Hard to argue against Russell Wilson. Top 3 player, definitely on my board, potentially the best. What about the Bills?
So I have the Bills as pretenders, and just going on from the fact that it's easy to win with a great quarterback in Russell Wilson, I'm going to go the opposite here, and it's very difficult to win with a bad quarterback, and that's Josh Allen. I think he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, and I think you're with me here. I think Stephon Diggs' addition really created too much hype for this team. We all know the Patriots left their division. It opens it up certainly a little bit for them, and I just don't see Josh Allen really carrying this offense to a level of production that will be worthy of beating some of these Kansas City's, Baltimore's, teams that we're concerned about in the AFC. So I think that their defense will be very solid again. It's just that Josh Allen, I don't know how he'll orchestrate the offense because we just didn't see it last year, and I'm not going to believe it until I see it.
Yeah, total agreement here. Josh Allen, 24th best quarterback rating last year, not good. Bottom 5 quarterback to me, not good. 64.2 Pro Football Focus grade, not good. I like their coach. I like their front 7. I like their secondary. I like their offensive line. I like their offensive skill positions with Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
But I don't trust Josh Allen to win big games. As we saw the Texans game, he's fumbling the ball, throwing it around, missing receivers. Bills are a pretender just because they don't have the quarterback right to me.
Yep, completely agree. So next we have a team that many people are talking about. We have the Buccaneers. What do you think, Evan? Contender or pretender?
I think they're a contender. We know they added Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, but last year with Winston, they were 3rd in terms of offensive yards. They had the 5th best defense last year, going on DVOA. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, O.J. Howard, they're loaded with weapons all over the field. And I think if Brady doesn't turn the ball over 35 times, like Winston, Tampa's going to be in the mix come January.
Yeah, I
like the Buccaneers as a contender.
Yeah, I totally agree. Even though I do think there was a little bit too much hype for them this season. Tom Brady's aging. He's a very good quarterback. I think he will be able to utilize these weapons to their full potential. And it'll be interesting to see how this team fully plays out. I think they had a great draft. They drafted one of my favorite tackles, Tristan Wirfs, who fell to them, and then Winfield, who I think is a great addition to a secondary that's really improving and proved to us that they can be very solid at the end of last season. I think that they'll be an interesting team to watch this upcoming season. They're definitely an X factor in the NFC, and they could really make some noise come January.
Yeah, agreement there. But Spencer, what about the Pittsburgh Steelers? 8-8 last season. Big Ben returns. But are they going to have a bounce back year or not?
Definitely. I like the Steelers for this year for sure. We all know Mike Tomlin, phenomenal head coach. They got 8 wins with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph last season. And now they have Big Ben with a oftentimes considered one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And the defense has been phenomenal. TJ Watt, Bud Dupree, very good linebacker core. They added Chase Claypool, who I think is a very underrated wide receiver weapon. He's big, 6'5", I believe he is. And I think he has incredible upside, almost Calvin Johnson-esque. Adds another weapon, dimension to that offense that I think it'll be interesting to watch this upcoming season. So I fully expect the Steelers to have a bounce-back season.
Yeah, they had 54 sacks last season. As you mentioned, that elite front seven.
Yeah.
The whole defense, only 19 points per game. And 8-8 last year. Rudolph, Duck Hodges, Big Ben is a huge upgrade. He's a top 10 quarterback in the league. They get him back healthy, hopefully. Great head coach Tomlin, quarterback Big Ben, defense, offensive line, the weapons, Chase Claypool, as you mentioned.
Yep.
They have it all. Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're going to be a really good team next year.
I totally agree. So now I think I know where both of us are going to go on this one, but Broncos, pretender, contender.
Yeah, Denver Broncos. I love this team for next year. 4-1 over the last 5 games. New offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur, who was the Giants head coach. I really like when head coaches become coordinators. Big advantage there. They traded for A.J. Boye and Jarrell Casey, 2 really good veteran defensive players. They get Bradley Chubb in his 3rd year, back from an ACL tear. He's an elite defensive end. Their one question mark is Drew Lock. But in the draft, they really helped him out. Jerry Jeudy in the 1st round, who's going to be wide open 3 hours every Sunday. And KJ Hamler, a big play waiting to happen with his elite speed. I'm really buying the Broncos. Last year, 49ers were my, surprise team. But I didn't pick them to win the division. I'm not holding back here. Broncos are a Super Bowl contender.
I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. I love the Broncos. I was praising them last season. I think that they were going to have a great season this season. And I love the draft. As you said, Jeudy and Hamler. Jeudy is a great route runner, super sound receiver, and he's a very sure prospect in my opinion. KJ Hamler is a great deep threat, and Sutton is, I think, one of the most underrated receivers in the league. Could be one of the best receiving trios in the league this next year. And you hit it on point. Bradley Chubb missed 12 games last season. The pass rush deadly with Miller and Chubb. And again, they acquired A.J. Boye to replace Chris Harris, and they also added Melvin Gordon. And exactly as you said, the question mark is Drew Lock, but I think we did see some signs of success from him last year, and I'm really excited to see what this team has to offer.
But Spencer, are you excited to see what the Titans have to offer after an elite or a great finish to the season? Are they a contender, or are they just simply a pretender?
They are just simply a pretender. I think a lot of us are stuck in last year's, crazy dream to the AFC Championship game where they eventually lost to Kansas City, and it was a great run. We know they extended Tannehill, gave Henry the franchise tag. Are they poised to do it again? I don't think so. They've won 9 games their past 3 seasons. I think the mediocrity will continue. A.J. Brown is going to improve, but I think that this team is just overhyped in general. It's not sustainable at all to believe that Derrick Henry is going to be able to get you 200 plus yards on the ground while Tannehill's only throwing for 70 to 100 yards each game. You're not going to beat those teams again by consistently doing that. And so I think that they're an interesting team, maybe a bottom playoff spot. I just don't think they're going to make as much noise as they did last season.
Yeah, last year they were on fire at the last 10 games, but I think it was in a bit of an anomaly. Can't say that word correctly. Last season, Tannehill's passer rating was 25 points above his next best season.
Yep.
It was an outlier season. They still don't have a good secondary in a passing league. That was ultimately their downfall against Kansas City. And they lost Jack Conklin in free agency, a key right tackle. They were much more effective when they ran the ball behind him to the right side. And I'm not entirely sold on Tennessee being an elite team next season.
I agree. So our final team here in this group that we are talking about, pretenders or contenders, is the Browns. What do you think, Kevin?
I'm going pretender. I've seen this movie before. They have a new, young, offensive-minded head coach, a ton of big free agent additions. Sounds like last year to me. Baker was very bad last year. 22 touchdowns, 21 picks. That's almost a 1-to-1 ratio. Not good.
Yep.
Baker and Odell still lack maturity. I need to see it before I believe it with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I agree. They were a team that was completely overhyped last year, and I think that that hype has kind of died down. So it'll be interesting to see if that affects anything. They got the new coaching hire, inexperienced guy. I did love their draft though. Jedrick Wills, Grant Delpit, a very good safety from LSU. But I just, as you said, I'm not going to believe what I'm like this hype again and fall for it again until I see it. I think that could be an interesting team. They're in a tough division. As I said, Steelers are going to be contenders, and we all think Ravens are going to be contenders again as well. So I think it'll be difficult for them to contend, but it's possible. But I think that they're pretenders for now until they show me otherwise.
Yeah, I think with a revamped offensive line specifically at both tackle positions, this is a dangerous team, but I'm not willing to buy in just yet.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's going to wrap up our 10 teams.
Yeah, there should be a recap of what we all just said up on the screen right about now.
Yep.
And thanks so much for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. That's all I've got to say. Thank you so much, and peace.